They laughed when I spoke, but I was the one still standing when the room went quiet. My name is Elena Morris. I was 29 the day they laughed like that. Not just laughed, dismissed me like I was nothing. Before I tell you what happened, can I ask something? What time is it where you are? And where are you listening from? Drop it in the comments. I do not know. Maybe it just makes me feel less alone. Like someone out there might hear this, not just with their ears, but with their heart. See, when I first started at that company, I was hopeful, bright-eyed, grateful even. I believed showing up early, staying late, and keeping quiet would mean something. That hard work would speak louder than anything else. And for a while, I thought it was working. My name was on every checklist, every calendar invite, every errand no one else wanted. Can you grab more coffee? Printers jammed again. And when I had ideas, real ones, they blinked like the air had made a noise. Not me. I became the girl in the corner. No title, no voice, just there. But I stayed, because I thought silence was noble. That if I kept my head down, someone would eventually say, "She deserves more." Turns out, silence just makes you easier to ignore. Until that one meeting, I had an idea, a good one. And when the slide deck froze, and the room went still, I spoke. What if we approached the rollout from the client side first? It was not loud, it was not bold. It was just honest. And the silence that followed, it was not thoughtful. It was lethal. Then came the laugh, from across the table. My boss, not loud, not playful. Just sharp, dry, intentional. That sounds like something a freshman intern would say. The room chuckled. Some smiled. Some looked away. No one looked at me, and I felt myself disappear. But I did not flinch, I did not cry, I did not speak again. I just sat there, still watching. His eyes, his smirk, the way he leaned back, certain no one would challenge him. And inside, I made space. A room, cold, quiet, empty, just for this moment. So I could walk back into it, stronger. They say silence is weakness. They are wrong. Silence is a woman sharpening her edge in the dark. That was the day I learned. Being ignored hurts, but being laughed at. Being laughed at carves something deep, a scar they never see, but one you feel every single day. Until one day they will, because I never spoke in that room again. But that idea, it never left me. And him, he never said thank you. I never needed him to, because one day he would. They never had to say it. Their silence did all the talking. You are just the girl who brings the tea. At first, I thought it was in my head. Maybe I was being too sensitive. But then you walk into a room, and the only empty chair is the one no one wants. You learn fast. I was not there to speak. I was there to make sure things started on time. Fresh coffee, refilled paper. Clean table, that was me, invisible. But necessary, and still, I watched. I watched them pitch my suggestions as their own. I watched emails get forwarded without my name. I watched eyes glaze over the second I spoke. Ever been in a room, but feel like you are watching from behind glass? Like your voice shows up, but no one turns? That was me. 3 years. Then came that Tuesday. The meeting was behind schedule. Everyone was tired, short, frustrated. Someone said, "We need fresh eyes on this." And there I was. Corner of the room, tray in hand, no badge. No seat, no voice, and still, something inside me moved. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was 3 years of silence sitting in my chest like bricks. So I cleared my throat and said, quietly, "I think the numbers are down because the landing page loads too slow." Silence. Not thoughtful silence. Not processing. Just disbelief. They turned, not toward the data, toward me. My boss smiled, the kind of smile that says, "Know your place." "Well, thank you," he said. "But we already have an analytics team for that." Laughter. Soft, sweet, dipped in sarcasm. Still burned the same. I nodded, left the room. Threw out the coffee cups, and I thought, So this is how they remind you where you belong, not with insults, but with kindness that cuts. I used to think I was too quiet. Now I know I was being measured, filed, labeled, stored. But what they missed was this. While they talked over me, I listened. I watched who interrupted who, which words made the clients lean forward, what tone they used when they lied and when they panicked. I was not just serving tea, I was building, collecting, preparing. People forget something. The assistant is always in the room, always listening. And we remember everything. So when the moment finally came, the one chance to speak again, I was not loud, I was clear. But that part comes later. Let me ask you, have you ever been underestimated so quietly that even you started to believe it? Tell me where you are listening from. Tell me the last time someone looked through you, like you were not meant to speak, because I know that look, and I know exactly what it leads to. He looked at me, smiled, then said, "That idea sounds like something a first-year intern would say." And just like that, the room exhaled. It was not what he said, it was how he said it. Light, calm, deadly. People chuckled. Not because it was funny, but because it was safer than silence, safer to laugh than to be next. I remember my hands were still warm from the laptop. I had stayed up until 3 a.m. fixing that slide deck. I was not even on the schedule to speak. Someone forgot their file, so I stepped in just for a moment. Just to help, I cleared my throat soft. Careful, suggested a change, something to speed up onboarding. 2 minutes? That was all. I thought they might actually consider it, but he laughed. And when your boss laughs like that, he is not laughing at the idea. He is warning the room. This one does not belong. I did not flinch. But something inside me did. Not fear, not shame. Just a snap, not loud, but clean. Like something in me drew a line and said, "No more." You know that feeling? When you realize the version of you they keep talking down to is gone. And no matter how much you nod, smile, or take feedback, you are not going back to her. That was me. I sat down. Still, quiet. But inside, I was already rewriting the campaign without them. Because silence is not surrender. It is storage. And I stored everything. His smirk, his tone, the way his chair creaked when he leaned back. Smug, certain, small. The glances from others. Embarrassed, complicit, quiet. I smiled the rest of that week, typed, scheduled, poured coffee, but I was not her anymore, because he thought he had ended something. He was wrong. He had lit the match, and I was done waiting for permission. Let me ask you, have you ever been humiliated by people you once respected? People who cheer each other's mediocrity, but mock your courage? If you have, then you know, revenge does not always wear anger. Sometimes, it wears a quiet face, walks back into the room, and remembers everything. The office emptied, I stayed. Not because they asked, not because they paid, but because I had something to finish. You see, humiliation, it is not an ending, not for women like me. It is kindling. I stayed late, lights off, screen on, silence like a blanket, just me, the numbers, and the burn in my chest. I rewrote the deck, cleaned every flow, mapped every friction point in the user journey, not for them, not for credit, just because I could not let that idea die. In that room they laughed me out of, I read until my eyes blurred. Taught myself code I had never seen, built a prototype from scratch. Same blazer. Same desk, different fire, you know what kept me going. Not revenge, not even pride, clarity. The kind that comes after a cut, when the bleeding stops and something sharper grows in its place. Nobody saw me. Except the cleaner. He nodded once, sometimes left a snack. He never asked questions. That felt safe, because once they see you grinding, they start to fear what you are building. And I was not ready to be seen. Not yet, but I was getting close. Then, one night, 2:17 a.m., an email. From the CEO. Subject line. Saw your notes, impressive. I froze. Read it once, then again, then again. I never sent it to him. Someone had. Someone noticed. I sat there in the dark. No smile, no tears. Just stillness. Because for the first time, the silence did not feel empty, it felt earned. It felt like recognition, quiet, but real. Let me ask you something. Have you ever built something no one clapped for? Something born in the dark, without approval, praise, or spotlight? And then one voice, just one, says, I see you. That is all it takes. Not to make you loud, but to make you sure. That night, I left at 3:03 a.m. No applause, no elevator ride, just the quiet click of a door. And a shift, not outside, inside me. The invite had no subject, just a name, mine. Room 14B, 10 a.m. from the CEO's office. No context, no copies, no explanation. Just me. I stared at it, hands still on the mouse. For a second, I thought, maybe it was a mistake. It was not, because the next morning, as I passed my boss's desk, he looked up. Just briefly, just enough, and what I saw, not curiosity, not irritation, fear. That was when I knew something had shifted, and this time it was not just inside me. Eyes followed as I walked the floor. But no one spoke, no one stopped me, and for once, no one asked me to make the coffee. Room 14B was smaller than I expected. No windows, no view. Just one table, 2 chairs, he was already there. No greeting, just a nod, then, close the door, I did. He leaned in, hands folded, voice quiet. Then, he asked, no pitch, no show. Just questions. What made you think of that feature? How did you map the conversion path? Why did no one bring this forward sooner? I looked at him and said, I did. He blinked, once. Then leaned back, not in defense, not in doubt. But like something had settled, he nodded again, not at me. At the space between us, at what it now meant, the silence in that room. It was not cold, not warm either. It was weight, and for the first time, it felt like respect. The kind that does not clap, the kind that does not rush to praise, the kind that makes space. Listens and remembers. We spoke for 18 minutes. Then he stood, said, that is all for now, opened the door, no promise. No flattery, just a meeting, but everything after would never be the same. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had someone powerful speak to you? Like you were already enough? Not someone handing down a chance, but someone who measured the silence and found it full. Because that is when I understood. The loudest kind of recognition does not speak. It sits across from you and listens. I sat across from him, no slides, no stage. Just a chair, a table, and the thing I carried for years. I told him everything, not like a pitch, not like a defense. Just the truth, what I saw, what I tried. What I built, quietly, alone. I showed him every failed mock-up, every mistake, every late night, no one noticed. He did not interrupt. He did not fill the silence, he just listened. Do you know how rare that is? To speak and not be waiting for someone to cut you off? I showed him the bounce rates, the mock flow, the version history. Then I said, I do not know if it is perfect, but I know it works better than what we have. That was when he looked at me. Not past me, not around me, at me, and said nothing. But it was not silence, it was weight. The kind of stillness that means I see you, I am measuring you, and I am not rushing. I kept going, low voice, no buzzwords. No defense, just facts, learned the hard way. I said, Bapo, I never needed credit, I just needed it to work. Then he asked, so why now? I looked at him, straight, and said, because when people laugh at you, it is easy to think you were wrong, but silence is not doubt. Sometimes it is strategy. He did not smile, he did not clap, but he nodded. Once, that was enough. The meeting ended. No handshake, no promise, no label. But I walked out different, not lighter, not heavier. Just real, like I had finally put something down, that I had been carrying alone for too long. And if nothing came from it, that was fine, because I had said what needed to be said. Let me ask you something. When was the last time someone really listened to you? Not because it was their job, not out of politeness, but because your voice actually mattered. If that day has not come yet, it will. And when it does, speak like you have nothing to prove, because maybe you never did. He said thank you, then disappeared, no follow-up. No summary, no calendar hold, just silence. But not the kind I knew how to survive. This one was different, heavier, sharper, waiting. For 3 days, nothing moved. No calls, no meetings, no whisper. It was like the room we sat in never happened, and that terrified me. Because for people like me, silence is not peace. It is pause. Right before the drop, I began second-guessing everything. Did I say too much? Was I out of line? Was I ever meant to be in that chair? And every time I passed my old boss in the hallway, he glanced, then looked away, quick, cold, like he was watching something leave, something that had already ended. But no one told me yet. I stayed late again, but this time, not to build, to brace. Because if the fall was coming, I did not want an audience. Strange, right? After finally being seen, I still expected the worst. Because when invisibility becomes your default, visibility feels like exposure, like standing bare in a silent room, wondering if they will clap or walk away. Then came Monday, 8:04 a.m., an email. Subject, leadership update. I opened it, read it 3 times. My screen still, he was suspended, effective immediately. Pending investigation, no further comment. My old boss, gone. No farewell, no headline. Just removed. I looked up, the office was quiet. But not like before, not like dismissal. This was tension. Wait, recalibration, because when power shifts, people notice. They do not say your name, but their posture changes. They do not ask you questions. But their silence does not ignore you anymore. Let me ask you, have you ever felt the room adjust? Not loudly. Not in chaos, but in quiet realignment, where suddenly you are no longer invisible. And no one says it, but they all know, and you feel it too. Something has begun. The elevator doors closed. He did not say goodbye. No box, no smile. Just a thin folder under one arm, and shoulders lower than I had ever seen. That was it. Gone. No memo, no whisper that stuck, but everyone knew. And no one looked at me. That was new. I used to be invisible. Now I was untouchable, not in the powerful way, in the careful way. Like I knew something, like I had been led into a room no one else entered. And now, the air had changed. People spoke softer, meetings tightened. Even the ones who used to laugh stopped mid-sentence now. Still, no one said my name, but when I walked into the break room, the coffee was already made. And someone handed me the first cup. They did not say why, did not meet my eyes. But small things speak loudly. When silence becomes the loudest thing in the room, I started noticing stares in meetings, longer, slower, hesitant, waiting. And I said nothing, because silence is not fear, it is control. I let them wonder, because when people cannot read you, they fill in the blanks with what they fear, and I had become someone they no longer knew how to label. The girl who brought the tea, she had vanished. And in her place was something harder to place, not louder, not higher, just steady, measured. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt a room know something before anyone dared to admit it? Like the walls knew, the light knew, even the clock seemed to hesitate. That was me, standing in the middle of it all, not promoted, not praised, but no longer beneath. They took something from him and left me waiting, but not for revenge, for the next door. Because it was coming, and this time I would not knock. I would walk through. The invite came at 6:12 p.m., no subject. Just a time, a room, and my name. Conference room, 3C, 7:45 a.m., too early for casual. Too precise for coincidence, I did not reply. I showed up. The room was still, cold, prepared. On the table, one folder, one pen. The CEO was already seated. No greeting, just sit. I did. He slid the folder forward. No explanation. I opened it. And everything stopped. A partnership agreement, direct report. Independent lead, my name typed, preloaded. All it needed was a signature, mine. I read it again. And again, it did not make sense. Not in the world I had come from. Not in the structure where people like me needed permission to be seen, but this was decided. No layers, no nods, just here. He said, I want you to lead it, quietly, fully. I looked at him. I did not ask why, or who approved it, because I knew. He saw what I built, what I endured, what I did with nothing. That was enough. I reached for the pen, my hand. Steady, I signed, no handshake. No smile, no applause, just paper. And air, he stood. Your team will be in touch, then left. Just like that, I stayed. 10 minutes. Alone, staring at my name, not buried beneath initials. Not footnoted, not shared, just mine. Let me ask you, have you ever had a moment so silent? It rang louder than every insult, every dismissal, every laugh. That was this. No spotlight. No ceremony, just the quiet shift, from overlooked to undeniable, and for the first time, they would have to live with that. It started quietly, not with praise, with caution. Someone offered to carry my laptop, another pulled out a chair. People who had never said my name started saying it. Soft, careful, almost like they practiced. At first, I thought I imagined it, until the man who once laughed at my idea held the door for me, twice. No eye contact, no words, just a gesture. Like a peace treaty, signed in quiet shame, I walked through. I did not say thank you. Not out of pride, out of clarity. Because kindness is easy. When people think you can hurt them. And now, they were no longer sure I could not. That was the shift. Meetings changed too. People paused when I spoke, waited. Listened. Not because they respected me, but because silence had changed meaning. Before, it meant I was unsure. Now, it meant I was watching, and people behave differently when they are being watched. But me, I stayed the same steps. Same notes, same coffee, just a different mug. Because I saw what they were doing, trying to rewrite history, pretending they always saw me. As if this version of me was not built out of their rejection. But I remembered every unread email, every skipped meeting, every smile that came only when they needed something. So no, I did not smile back. Not out of anger, out of awareness, because survival does not make you cruel. It just makes you see that some people will never see you until someone more powerful tells them to. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had people treat you better, and it made you angrier, not happier? Not because you wanted revenge, but because you knew their kindness now cost them nothing. I carried that. Quietly, not like a wound, like a record. Not to hold pain, to protect her, the version of me they once ignored. Dismissed, laughed at, because she mattered too, and I will not let them forget her. 12 people. One boardroom, and a seat no one expected me to fill. Laptops open? Coffee steaming, the buzz of small talk fading as the clock hit 10. I walked in. Sat down, no one spoke, then the door opened again. And he walked in, him, not gone. Just moved, demoted, reassigned. No announcement, but everyone knew. He sat not directly across, just enough that our eyes could meet, but they did not, because he never looked up. The meeting began, slides, metrics, goals, and then, let us hear from Elena. She is leading the new rollout. Chairs turned, eyes followed, except his. I stood. I have simplified the onboarding flow. Early numbers show a 43% increase in completion. Timeline holds. Phase 2 begins Monday. 3 sentences, clear. No spin, no need, just data. The room stilled, not uncomfortable, not dismissive. Just wait. And then he cleared his throat, but did not speak. Still no glance, and I realized he could not look at me because he remembered. That laugh, that room, that day I was meant to stay small. But now I was standing, and he shrinking. I sat back down, no smile, no nod. Just stillness, because not every victory needs a headline, sometimes it only needs to be heard. By the one who tried to take your voice. Let me ask you, have you ever seen someone avoid your eyes, not from anger, but from memory? That was this. And I said nothing, because silence, it speaks louder when it returns on your side. I did not clap back, I did not raise my voice, I did not post quotes or force smiles in passing hallways. I just showed up, sat where I was meant to, spoke only when it moved something, and let the rest echo behind me. Some asked quietly, "How do you stay so calm? How do you walk past them like nothing ever happened?" I wanted to say, it did happen. The laughter, the silences, the weight of being unseen, daily, but I was not calm because I forgot. I was calm because I remembered, and chose not to carry it like fire. Because nobody teaches you this. Revenge is not always rage. Sometimes it is refusal. Refusal to shrink, refusal to defend, refusal to disappear. You do not have to yell, you just have to be there, exactly where they hoped you would never be. That is the loudest thing you can do. So I stood in rooms never meant for me, at tables where no one saved me a seat, in positions they thought I would never deserve. And I did not raise my voice, because I did not need to. You know what silence becomes once you choose it? Power, still, measured. Undeniable. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been so right, so quiet, that it hurt more than any scream could? That was this. Not revenge, not justice, just arrival. Me, standing in the exact space they once denied me. And now, they were the ones unsure where they belonged. I still make coffee, just not for them. Sometimes I catch myself, reaching for the old mug. The chipped one. The one I held when no one knew my name. The one they handed me with half a smile and a full list of demands. I keep it tucked in a drawer, not for sentiment, for memory. Because I never want to forget who I was. Before they were forced to see me. Back then, I tried so hard to be helpful, pleasant, non-threatening, small enough to be tolerated, but never big enough to be challenged. That girl, she was soft, she was loyal, she was hurting, so quietly. And I owe her everything. She kept going when no one clapped. She carried weight in silence. But I am not her anymore. Now I speak less, but say more. I trust slower, but stand firmer. I still feel deeply, but I bleed where no one can see. Because you do not unfeel what they did, you just stop needing their permission to feel it. That is the shift, not the title, not the paycheck, not the seat at the table. It is the silence inside you that no longer asks, "Do they see me yet?" Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked in the mirror and realized you are no longer trying to survive the room? Because that is where I am now. I walk in, I speak, I lead. Not to prove anything, but because I can, quietly, completely. And if that unsettles them, good. Let it, because I worked too hard to become someone they could not predict. I do not need applause. I do not need revenge. I just need to never go back. To the girl who thought being silent meant being safe. She was brave. But I am free. The document looked familiar. Same format, same logo, the same layout I had used years ago. Except this time, it had my name at the top, and no one erased it. That moment was not loud. No applause, no grand announcement, just me. A quiet office, holding the thing they once laughed out of the room. I scrolled slowly. Every section, every word, because I knew this idea better than most people. I built it alone, in silence, while they moved on. And now, They wanted it back, refined, published, presented under my name. It felt strange, not triumphant, not flashy, just still. Like walking into a room that swallowed you before and realizing the walls are smaller now. Or maybe you are bigger. I added one line. At the end, no one asked for it, but I needed to say it. Created and executed by Elena Morris. Alone, I stared at it, not because I needed them to read it, but because I needed to know it was true. That what I built in the dark now stood in the light, and no one could take that from me. Let me ask you something. Have you ever done something you were told you could never do, and then done it better than anyone expected? It does not come with cheers, it does not erase the scars, but it anchors you. It whispers, I was right to keep going, so I signed, clicked send, closed my laptop. And this time, when I walked out of that room, no one needed to speak. Because finally, my name said it all. Where are you right now? Not just in the room, not just in your job, but in your story. Are you still in that chapter? Where no one says your name, where you speak and nothing echoes back, where your silence gets mistaken for not knowing. If yes, I see you, because I was you, the girl who walked in early and left last. Who knew the answers but swallowed them, who smiled while shrinking, just to stay in the room. But let me tell you something, you are not invisible. You are just not done yet. Because one day, if you keep building, keep breathing through the ache, keep showing up when it feels pointless, your work will walk in before you do, and they will have no choice but to notice. Not because you demanded it, but because it became undeniable. Let me ask you, has that moment happened for you yet? If it has, tell me. Tell me what you carried. Tell me what they missed until they could not. And if it has not, do not flinch. Do not rush. You are not behind. You are just becoming, and when it happens, when they finally see you, you will not need to gloat, you will just breathe. Stand, and whisper back to the version of you they ignored. I never needed their permission, only my own. Let me ask one more thing. Where are you watching from? What did you survive in silence? What did you build when no one clapped? Drop it below. Let the quiet ones find each other, because we are not here to shout. We are here to rise. Softly, unapologetically, and make the room listen, even if it takes years. Even if it starts as a whisper, even if all it says is, she mattered, she was me.